The 80s most notorious rock band, Motley Crue, said to exorcise many demons throughout their career. But has the band been haunted by the supernatural? Welcome to Friday Night Ghost Frights from Haunted Road Media. I'm author and ghost historian Mike Ricksecker. Explore with us. Motley Crue has been known for their sex, drugs, and rock and roll, most recently depicted in their biopic movie, The Dirt, now on Netflix. But some of their more haunting experiences weren't included in the film. The Dirt depicted plenty of tragedy, from the death of Razzle, to Nikki's deadly heroin addiction, to Mick's crippling disease, to the tragic death of Vince's daughter Skylar. But it also left out a number of other chilling experiences of the supernatural kind. One of the scenes I most wanted to see in the movie, from the book version of The Dirt, was a story told by Elektra Records representative Tom Zutaut. What Tom tells us is that he was headed over to Nikki's house because Nikki wanted to name the upcoming album Shout with the Devil, which Elektra Records just wasn't going to have. So Tom went over to have a conversation with him, and at this time Nikki was living with Lita Ford. At this time, Nikki was dabbling in black magic and reading up on the occult, and when Tom walked into the house, Lita and Nikki were huddled up on the couch together with a book of black magic on a table. Tom took a look around and noticed that Nikki had painted pentagrams and gothic artwork on the walls and floors. Lita told Tom that she was starting to get kind of freaked out because different strange things were going on around the apartment, like cabinet doors were opening on their own, strange sounds were being heard all over the place, and things were flying around the apartment. Tom told Nikki, "Look, man, you gotta stop. You don't know what you're messing with." But Nikki just brushed it off, said, don't worry about it, it's all good. It's not like I'm worshiping Satan or anything like that. I'm just using the imagery, it just looks cool. So Tom left without having convinced Nikki he needed to change the name of the album. Well, 2 nights later, he came back, and again, Nikki and Lita were huddled up on the couch together, looking a lot more paler and sicklier than usual. Tom asked what was wrong, and Lita said, "I told you, crazy things have been going on around here." When Tom took a look around this time, he saw that knives and forks had been lodged up in the ceiling, and he told Nikki, "Look, there is no more Shout with the Devil. You need to change the album name." And just then, there was a knife and a fork that raised up and launched itself into the ceiling above Tom. Tom thought that Nikki had unknowingly tapped into something evil, and still he walked out of the house that night without having getting Nikki to change the album name. But Nikki did end up changing it on his own to Shout at the Devil. Ironically though, when Motley Crue was criticized for the album title and the song Shout at the Devil, Nikki simply said, "Well, we're saying we're shouting at the devil, not with the devil," which is what got him into trouble in the first place. Years later, as reality television became popular, Vince Neil has appeared on both Ghost Adventures, which we're not going to talk about here, and Celebrity Ghost Stories. Vince told the tragic tale of his 4-year-old daughter Skylar succumbing to cancer when she was only 4 years old back in 1995. Vince and his then wife Charisse were going through a divorce at the time, but Vince still saw Skylar on a weekly basis, and they had a very close relationship. But one day, Vince got the call that Skylar was being rushed to the hospital, and they originally thought that it was a problem with her appendix. But as they continued to do tests, they discovered a large tumor that was actually black in nature, and Vince described it as something that was evil. Skylar was admitted to Children's Hospital, and Vince would come visit her on a daily basis, and they would draw pictures together. But sadly, she passed away in August when she was just diagnosed that April, right after her 4th birthday. It was absolutely tragic. For the next 2 years, Vince grew depressed and he pounded pills and alcohol, and he actually admitted that he was really trying to kill himself because he missed his daughter so much and he just wanted to be with her. He slept with her little blanket because it reminded him of her and it smelled of her. And one night, he felt a tug on this little blanket. He lifted his head out of bed. He noticed that the door was open, and his daughter, Skylar, was standing right there next to him. She said, "Hi, Daddy," and he noticed that she was wearing a white sundress, and they went off together to go play and draw pictures together like they did when she was in the hospital. Well, after a while, she said goodbye and disappeared. Vince went back to bed and stayed there the entire day, hoping that she would come back. And she did the following night. Now, he also didn't take any pills or alcohol during this time because he didn't want to be asleep in case she came back. And when she did, off they went again to go play. And this time they made papier-mâché flowers and put them on her dress. And so this kept happening for the next 2 weeks. She would come back at night and Vince would stay up and play with her all night long. The heavy feeling that he had in his heart was gone, and he wasn't taking any pills or alcohol during this time. Then one night she said, "Daddy, I can't come see you anymore." And of course he asked why not. And she said, "School. When I'm done learning, I'll come back and see you." And that was it. She left from there. Vince hasn't seen Skylar since then, but one day when he walked into his closet, on top of a set of drawers that was in the closet, he found the white sundress with the papier-mâché flowers on it. And then he suddenly realized that he hadn't had any pills or alcohol since before Skylar came to visit him. And he actually credits her with saving his life. So it was a very tragic loss, but a very sweet ghost story. Now, I have my own little spooky Motley Crue story to share as well. Now, being a big fan of the band growing up, I had a couple of dreams that involved Motley Crue. Even when I've gone on stage to talk about shadow people, I've mentioned the Motley Crue dreams. I'd like to throw this one out there. I've had dreams of being on stage with Motley Crue. So, where's the audience? Where's the drum kit? Where's Nikki Sixx? It's always the shadow person in the room. And that's what other people report. Can't really say much about the one when I was a kid and I'm getting up there on stage with Mick Mars and he's just telling me, go get up there and go play something. That's just all fun. But the one that I had a couple years ago, now that I'm in my 40s, is a little different. Now, in this particular dream, Motley Crue was still touring, even though in real life, they had already stopped. But for some reason, Nikki was taking a leave of absence from the band while they were on tour. And for whatever crazy reason, they decided to contact me to see if I could fill in his stead. I have no idea why they would ask me since I'm so out of practice, even though I did play bass in a band way back in the day and I do play a little guitar, way out of practice. But in this dream, there I was on stage with a guitar in my hand and the rest of the band around me, the crowd cheering and roaring and all that stuff. Yes, very fantastical dream, but it's the next day that's the kicker. And that was the day a couple years ago when Nikki Sixx on his Facebook page made a post about being quote-unquote unofficially retired. Now, he had this whole list of different projects that he was involved in and things that he was doing, etc., but he was making a point that he wasn't touring and going out on the road with 6 a.m., his other band, for the time being. So it seemed to be one of those spooky moments where a dream of mine tapped into things going on in the universe. And it just happened to be with Motley Crue. And if you like this video, please go ahead and check out our others off on the side. We just recently did a live stream about music and supernatural energy. We also have a Los Angeles-based ghost story concerning the Black Dahlia. I'm Mike Ricksecker. Until next Friday night.